I have a friend who has a style of hundreds of artists. Anytime they draw something new, they are never truly able to replicate that style again. Though there isn't anything wrong with this, it could sometimes be difficult for someone who wants to be remembered for a certain style or, at the very least, be consistent with what they draw. Today I wanted to talk about how you can maybe, perhaps, solve this problem. So how do you develop a style if you have this problem? Great question. Here's step 1. Finding artists you like. I would say about 2 to 3 or more, but the less you work with, the less likely you'll be overwhelmed. However, if you just stick to one inspiration, you run the risk of copying their exact style, which is what we don't want. We want to try to be original. Obviously, there's no way for you to create an entirely new style because it has most likely been done before, but the goal here is to borrow styles from various artists and add a bit of your own spice into it to morph it into your own. Second step is to ask yourself, what do you like about the artist's work? Is it the line art? Is it the coloring style? The way they draw certain facial features? Jot at least one aspect of their style for each artist you choose. Or more. You can do whatever you like. Step 3. Now that we have all of our ingredients, let's get cooking. There are 2 methods you could do when developing an art style. The first one is to do master studies. A master study is just straight up copying from the artist, but this is different from just copying because you are studying, not copying it. But here's the thing, you don't want to just straight up copy their work without realizing why you're placing down what you're placing down. For example, let's say I would like to study backgrounds from Studio Ghibli. The first thing that I like about their scenery is the way their greenery, it's very magical in a sense, especially with Arrietty and Howl's Moving Castle. And the compositions within each scene, you have an idea of what's gonna happen within the next scene. So I would try to figure out the color palettes and values of the background with the very little knowledge I have of color theory. And then I would try to quickly grasp the basic shapes of the scene. But you can take your time with doing the sketch because after all, we want to replicate it as best that we can. Then I would start blocking in the shapes with the paints and render them as I go further on with the painting. Overall, I want to be able to understand the process of what they did in order to recreate that scene. Now, the second method is getting a reference photo, and I mean an actual photo, not another drawing of the artist you're trying to study from, and draw that reference you're using in the artist style that you're working from. For example, we can use the style of Adventure Time. They got these stick arms and legs, while they have a specific shape to their heads and body. Their line art has no variance of line width and is primarily flat cell colors, but that's also because it's easier for them to animate it. So taking these into consideration, I would take a reference I'd find from Pinterest or something and try to replicate it to the style of Adventure Time while still adding my pizzazz to it. I guess my own little spice to things would be to render it a bit. I'm not someone who likes flat coloring. There are people who can do it very well. I am not one of those people. I just overwork my stuff, but that's just the way I do things. So I would render the character a bit into my own little style while still keeping the anatomy rules of Adventure Time. Now you can do this method with multiple artist styles at the same time, or do it separately and then later on morph it as you go on. The key is to never draw the exact sketch or drawing from that set artist. I've actually seen numerous people try to replicate my art, but I usually don't condone this because they're usually drawing from my free flow line art sketches, which makes no sense because there's no thought process being drawn into that. It's not a painting. So if you do that, don't do that. You can replicate my style, but don't replicate my shit non-proportionate sketches. The reason of this is because, as you're trying to replicate the exact motion of my line art, you're not actually being free with it. That's one thing that I find special within my sketches. There is no restriction. I am not taking my time with things. I try to make my sketches as quick as possible because it's just fun to me and relaxing. So like I said, there's no correct proportion or concept of anatomy. So that's why it's important to think of, how did the artist get to this? Were they drawing it? Were they taking their time? Were they drawing it quickly? Were they painting it quickly? What was the reasoning? And then from there, keep asking yourself questions. Research if it's possible, if they have videos of them drawing, look into it precisely. And you'll be making your way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and you're home now. At this point, you will have either done either or both of these ways of studying a style. Now, it's just a matter of staying consistent with it. Keep practicing, because you can't get better without practicing, and just do your master studies and have fun studying them. But don't be claiming it as your own unless you'd like to immediately be cancelled. Developing a style can take years, but it's something that continuously changes for some artists, especially those who continue to learn new things from different artists. By now, I guess I'm known for this doodly quick style I have going on for me. It primarily derived from numerous artists, animes, and K-pop idols and BTS that I've drawn throughout my whole life. But I continue to improve in whichever way I can, and my style always develops as I'm going, as I'm living. I'll try to use new mediums while also taking whatever I have learned in the past with me. I never stopped learning. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know how frustrating it can be to find your style, but fret not. Enjoy your time of being a multi-styled artist while you still can, before you're forever cuffed with this main style. Don't stop creating, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye bye!